Hi, everyone. This is Michele Graglia.
This is Marianne Hogan.
Hi, I'm Adrian McDonald.
I'm Katie Asmith.
Hi, this is Anthony Gasals.
Hi, my name is Meg Morgan.
Hey, it's Jordan Trove.
This is John Ray.
This is Ryan Van Duzer, and you are listening to the GottaRunRacing podcast.
Hey everybody, we're back for the GottaRunPodcast.
Hello. What's going on?
Well, we've been busy.
Well, we've been wrapped up in Jays fever. How about them Jays?
Oh my gosh.
I'm still recovering from the 18-inning game that ended at 3 a.m. Eastern Standard Time the other night. How about you?
I went to bed early because I knew that after the 15th pitcher that came out, it's over.
What a game.
Yeah, we've also been busy with traveling. Did a little bit of France and drinking a lot of wine.
And no running.
And what's happening in the ultra scene?
Quite a bit, actually. So we've had Javelina 100 go down last weekend with a few records broken. Will Murray took it for the men in a time of 12:10, and Tara Dower for the women in a time of 13:31. They're just breaking records all over the place.
That's incredible. We have some good experience there at Javelina back in the day. I can't believe it's been, wow, I did that in 2016. What year are we in?
25.
25. What's that?
9 years ago.
9 years ago.
And I did it 6 years ago.
Woo.
Crazy. And also, of course, Big's Backyard, which we know a lot of you were glued to the screen watching that. So we had Phil Gore from Australia, who did 750 kilometers.
Over 750 kilometers.
Yeah, 114 laps, which he actually has the record of 119 laps set earlier this year.
Yep.
But he ran his last lap at a 5:30 pace.
Yeah, I could barely do that in my first lap.
Not to mention, for the women, we had Sarah Perry from Britain, who broke the record with 95 laps. Wow. Unbelievable.
Yeah. Just at what point a record is going to be thrown down where it's going to take forever to break?
Well, I'd like to see it.
Yeah, because records are being broken everywhere quickly. And who do we have on the podcast today?
Today we have Mark Coleman. Mark is a 56-year-old semi-retired veterinarian from Ontario with a truly inspiring story. At the age of 16, he developed autoimmune cirrhosis of the liver. That's when the body's immune system mistakenly attacks and damages liver cells, which causes fatigue and a loss of muscle mass. Yeesh. He lived with this condition for many years until February of 2011 when he received a liver transplant. According to Mark, his doctor was pretty happy that he'd taken up running marathons as it helped with his recovery. We first met Mark when he approached us at Sulphur Springs this year after completing the 100K, and he explained that he'd heard our chat with Tammy Volek, episode 146, who runs for the Chris Klug Foundation, which is a charity that helps improve the quality of life for those who have received a transplant. Fast forward to now, Mark's just completed his first 100-miler at the Haliburton 100, and he's here to chat about his experiences before and after his life-changing liver transplant.
He says running saved his life, and he has a story to tell, so stick around. Here's Mark. Well, welcome, Mark, to the podcast, and big congrats on finishing your first 100-miler at Haliburton.
Yes, big congrats. And as we said, we met you at the finish line of your first 100K this past May at Sulphur Springs. And you'd mentioned you'd heard the episode with Tammy Volek, who had mentioned in her episode about the Chris Klug Foundation, and you had a little chuckle to yourself because you're quite familiar with that charity. And before we get to running, we'd actually like to know, tell us about how your health journey started back in when you were 16, I believe.
Yeah, I grew up in Sarnia, Ontario. I was back in high school. I developed jaundice. Ended up being treated initially in Sarnia, and Sarnia is close to London. So I was transferred over to London, where I developed, they could not figure out the cause of my hepatitis at that time. It was non-A, non-B, non-C. So they eventually called it autoimmune hepatitis.
Okay.
So, which ended up at 16 years old, I didn't know what that meant. So it ended up developing a gradual scarring of my liver, or called cirrhosis of the liver. So I was 16 at the time, and I just basically went back to normal. My liver I guess, compensated. And I was considered normal on the outside, but I guess underneath I had underlying liver disease.
Okay.
So I just kind of went on with living my life. I was being followed closely by London. I went down to London about once a year, sometimes twice a year for annual blood work. And I went to university. I went to veterinary school. I graduated as a veterinarian in 1995, met my wife there. We ended up making plans for our life,
Right.
like going to working and raising a family. And in 1998 in London, I was at one of my appointments. They said to me that you're going to require a liver transplant in your lifetime.
Whoa.
And we were just like, we almost put off our wedding. We weren't sure what to do. Like, am I going to live? Am I going to die? How's this going to work? We knew nothing about organ transplantation, but we weren't sure what to do. I just continued on living my life. We ended up getting married and started having 2 children and raising our family. So I guess I'm in the early 2000s. I was down in Sarnia on Father's Day. And my parents are both active runners.
Right.
My parents both did marathons many times, like maybe 3 or 4 marathons when I was younger. I thought they were nuts. I wasn't really running at that time. I was thinking, well, my parents are kind of weird and whatnot. And Sarnia has a very strong running community, the Sarnia Road Runners. So my parents were actively involved with that. So it was just out of the blue. My mom says, hey, do you go want to run a 10K tomorrow? And I said, sure, why not? Zero training. I ran the race with a pair of K-Way track pants and a cotton shirt. I just went out and did it. And I wouldn't recommend that to people because it was hard. I almost fainted at the end, but I did it. And I kind of realized like finishing that race, like going, okay, this is kind of fun. Yeah, I got that runner's high. And I said, okay, if I can run 10K, okay, let's start training for a marathon.
Right.
So that's a logical next step is to go on and see if I can push it even farther. So I started training for, I think the initial race I did was the Ottawa Marathon. And I think it took me 2 years to get to the start line through injuries and whatnot. But I finished the Ottawa Marathon in 2004, I think it was. And then I followed up with running Mississauga in 2005. And like in that time of my life, I was constantly going back to London to get rechecks for my liver disease. And they kept saying the same thing. You have chronic active hepatitis, cirrhosis of the liver. You're still going to require a transplant.
Right.
And I said, well, I just ran a personal best at the Mississauga Marathon. I've run this half marathon and that half marathon. And I said, I'm completely healthy. But when I look back at it now, I was in complete denial that I was sick. I was basically running to tell them that, hey, I don't have liver disease. I'm really active. I'm running. I'm had a very healthy lifestyle. So I said, okay, well, but you're not right. So there's no way I'm actually going to need a transplant in 5 years or whatever the time race was. But sure enough, we purchased a business in 2008. So that kind of sidelined all my races. But I was able to basically continue running. And then in the summer of 2009, I developed swelling of the ankles.
Oh.
So that was my first sign that I was going into liver failure.
So I have a question about the doctor. What advice did the doctor give you with this condition? Did he say, forget running, you're doing great, but you got to stop this craziness? Did he say that to you, that as advice?
No. They kind of just, okay, that's neat. You're kind of an oddity. Keep on doing it. They didn't really say, do this. They said, go about and live your normal life. At the time, my gastroenterologist was amazing, Dr. Gentz. He really kind of just said, okay, Mark, just continue living your life. Obviously, alcohol was I didn't drink very much to begin with, but I did drink a little bit in university. Like you're young, you're in university, you want to have fun. Didn't smoke, obviously. He said, but just go about living your life. So that's what I sort of did. They never told me, don't do this or don't do that. So... But yeah.
But the conditions of this, because we did some research on it, it makes you feel tired. And what symptoms do you have? And then don't you feel that when you're training for a marathon?
Yeah, I didn't really have a lot of weakness or tiredness until I was actually in liver failure.
Okay.
That's when my health started to really go down. The liver is a remarkable organ in that you can probably live a normal life with maybe 75% of your liver not working.
Wow.
So I guess it gets to a tipping point when you don't have enough functional liver tissue where you actually start to feel sick.
Okay.
So up until that time, I felt great. Like, now, I wouldn't say I felt great. I felt that I was good, healthy enough to continue running. So
I had a question about the ankles. What was causing the ankle swelling?
well, I think it was this congestion because your blood's trying to get back to your heart, and it has to. I'm not a medical doctor by any means, but you has to go through your liver, so that's causing obviously more resistance.
Got it.
So I end up having an enlarged spleen. I had like splenomegaly, they call it, which resulted in some blood changes. I had a very low platelet count.
Okay.
Like my platelet counts through the 2000s was probably in the like 20s to 50s. Where most people it's over like 150 or 140.
Right.
So so I was very susceptible to bruising.
Right.
So that was one thing I did have I did notice all along. So
this is 2009 now. So take us from 2009 to where you started there.
Yeah. So 2009 came along and I remember one story that there's many stories, but I'll tell one story. I was out running before work. A friend of mine up the street, we'd go running every morning. And I had just been placed on the transplant list that October. And I had to tell him, I said, hey, I've got some news. I'm on the organ transplant list for a liver. And I guess we all talk when we're running, and he just stopped in his tracks and looked at me. He's just going, "You got to be kidding! There's no way! Like you're in the best shape of your life. How can you possibly be ill?" And I said, "Yeah, it's true. I don't know when I'm going to get a liver transplant, but I'm on the organ transplant list." So I think I went on the transplant list in October of 2009.
Okay.
So at that time, I was still relatively healthy. By January of that year, my health kind of took a turn for the worst. I was having, when you're in liver failure, you have something in your body called ammonia.
Mm-hmm.
So ammonia builds up in your bloodstream, and it puts you into a hepatic coma. And I think my first episode was in January of 2010.
Mm-hmm.
I think I spent a month in a whole month in the hospital at that point, battling like hepatic encephalopathy, and I think I had peritonitis as well. So it was just. And there's not much they could do for me. I was waiting for a liver transplant.
Mm-hmm.
So I managed to get myself back out of the hospital, and my health sort of gradually declined over the course of that year. I was still working at that point.
Mm-hmm.
I was still able to go to work. I think my running kind of took a back seat.
Sure.
And then things really kind of went haywire later that summer. I think I'm going to say from August to December of 2010, I think I was in the hospital about every 2 weeks in a hepatic coma.
Wow.
So where I would basically go to bed that night and I'd wake up in the hospital 1 or 2 days later. It was just like the craziest thing I've ever seen. Like I try to think back at it, but there's so many stories. My wife has many more than I do because I was out of it most of the time. But one of the stories I remember is I'm a huge baseball fan. So this month's been amazing for me with the Blue Jays.
Yeah,
I've been
go Jays.
watching all the games. But one of the stories was October 31st of 2010. I was watching the World Series. I don't remember the exact teams that were playing, but I remember sitting down watching the World Series. I think Detroit won that night, or so I think it was, and I went to bed. And I went into a coma.
Oh.
So I woke up literally 2 or 3 days later in the hospital again. I remember looking up at the doctor and he explained to me what happened. And I kind of going, well, who won the World Series?
Wow. Jeez.
And he's going,
your poor wife.
I don't think anyone knew. So I was like, okay, well. So I ended up missing the end of the World Series that year. So,
Jeez.
But oh well, it worked out. So,
So I'm just curious if you can briefly explain, because what we see on TV and reality is probably different, but you're on an actual list, and I assume your name could be bumped ahead when things start to progressively get worse for you.
Yeah, when I was on the list, from my understanding of how it worked back in 2010, there was different levels. Level 1, 2, 3, and 4. Level 1 was when you're at home, you're not in the hospital, you're at home. Level 2 is when I believe you're in the hospital requiring treatments. Level 3, I believe, is when you're in the hospital requiring treatment and you're in kidney failure as well as liver failure.
Mm,
And level 4 is when you're in a coma or dying.
Right.
So during that 15 months when I was on the transplant list, I went through all 4 levels.
oh my gosh.
Jeez.
My kidneys were always good. So I don't think I was ever level 3, but I went to level 4 when I was going through the hepatocoma episodes.
Right.
So
Mm.
yeah, so it was quite scary. Like my wife was my patient. She was my advocate for me. She she helped me. She was basically looking after our kids and running our business.
Mhm.
And I was basically in and out of the hospital like every 2 weeks, it seems. So
Right.
yeah. So, and I guess it also depends on blood type as well.
I was just about to ask, what are the
yeah.
parameters for matching?
Yeah, like right now, at least again, my understanding of it is I'm an A positive.
Mhm.
So I can receive liver from another A positive or an O.
Mm.
So I think that would change if you're an O or you're a B or an AB. So I think my blood type was favorable for getting a liver transplant.
Oh,
So
good.
Wow.
Good.
yeah, so I think that was helpful. Yeah.
I don't even know what my blood type is.
Neither do I. And I keep thinking I need to find out what it is and go give blood. And then it just doesn't
Yeah.
happen,
Yeah.
But I'm
Yeah.
going to make an effort.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess I've been in and out of the hospital so many times that year. You learn obviously you learn what your blood type is.
Right.
Yeah,
So,
of course.
yeah.
So when did you have your surgery?
Yeah, so I had my surgery in February of 2011. So I always, that winter, I remember that winter so well because I was laid up at home. I was on oxygen, like a home oxygen unit. And it was like the best winter for snow ever. Like there was so much snow that winter and I was stuck sitting on the couch all winter. February of 11, we got the call. I'll try to keep it together. We got the call to head down to London. I remember the night quite well.
Take a minute.
Yeah. I think I just got to sleep that night. And I was suffering from day-night reversal. I'm not sure if you've ever heard of that, but
No.
it's when your body will keep you up all night and you sleep all day.
Ooh.
I think when you're chronically ill, I don't know why that happens, but I would basically stay up all night watching like late night sports, whatever else is on the TV at 3:00 in the morning, just to say. But that night, I finally got to sleep. It was I think it was a Tuesday night, if I remember correctly, and my phone rang. And I just remember being so upset at 11:00 at night, like, what do you want? My phone rang and it was London.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah. So yeah, we
Take a minute, Mark. You're fine.
yeah. So we got the call, and I think that was my second call. The first call we got was in December of 2010. We had rushed down to London when I was in the hospital in December, and it was a false alarm call, they call it.
Mm-hmm.
So you get yourself down to London, and for some reason, there was an organ mismatch where the liver that was available for me wasn't perfect or wasn't quite right. So they had to cancel the procedure. So the first time we made the mistake of telling all our family, "Hey, I'm getting my liver transplant. We're heading down to London."
Right at Christmas time, like that's
Right at Christmas time,
Yeah.
yeah. And it was amazing. So they ended up canceling the procedure, which in hindsight was good. I ended up going back to live at home for a month. One of the doctors at Lakeridge, Dr. Pavoni, I think this man saved my life, put me on an experimental drug called rifaximin, which was a medication to treat hepatic encephalopathy. So it was an oral medication that I took once or twice a day. And it kept my ammonia levels down without taking other medication. And it allowed me to live at home and stay out of the hospital for that 6 weeks leading up to the surgery. Actually, longer than that, probably 2 months living up to the surgery. Maybe 6 weeks from beginning of January till February. And I was able to live at home, eat healthy, like sleep, be around my family. So I felt good. So I was actually in better shape in February than I was in December, if that makes sense.
right.
So when I got that second call, we didn't tell anyone. We had an emergency plan set up with my wife's parents. So as soon as we got the call, my wife's parents would come home and look after the kids.
Right.
And my wife and I drove down to London. So yeah, we got down there. So it was February of 2011, and it's kind of a blur what happened over the next 24, 28 hours. But I remember, of course, winter in Canada, there's snowstorms. So I remember being in the hospital, got admitted to London, and all the nurses were gathered around the TVs around the reception. They were watching the weather forecasts around Montreal.
Uh-oh.
And I guess there was a storm, and that's where the plane was coming from.
Oh no! Oh no!
Wow.
They don't tell you much when you're there, but you have to sort of, okay, I think this is what's going on. There's a chance I'm getting a liver from Quebec, and I still don't know to this day if that's true or not. But yeah, I think I waited 28 hours by the time I got the call until I was actually wheeled down into the OR in London. So it was the longest 28 hours of my life. My wife and I, we had to sit it out. We just waited and we watched movies and we tried to make the best of it. Yeah. And so February 2011, I finally got my liver transplant.
Wow.
So
Is that a long surgery?
again, I think it was 13 or 14 hours.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
My wife waited the whole time in the waiting room in London, and I believe it was 13 or 14 hours. I haven't gone back and looked at all the emails and texts that my wife was sending to her friends, but I'm pretty sure it was that long.
Wow.
Yeah. So.
And how long were you in the hospital?
Yeah. So the way it worked back in 2011 was you spend 2 weeks in London. So 1 week, actually, sorry, a month in London. So 2 weeks I spent on the transplant ward. And 2 weeks I lived in a hotel across the street from the hospital.
Okay.
It was amazing. Like the day after I got my liver transplant, I felt better.
Wow.
Yeah, like you're even though you're on all these medications, you've got. I had an abdominal tube, I had a chest tube, I was on different IVs, but I just felt better that day, like the next day. And
Wow.
they're very pro movement. So I remember the physiotherapist coming into when I finally get out of the intensive care unit. I think I spent a day down in ICU, and they brought me up to the transplant ward. They said, you got to get out of bed. You got to start moving again. And you've got this huge abdominal incision and it hurts to move. But I said, okay, I'm going to start moving again. So, and they give you a walker, and they said to you, Mark, okay, you've got to walk around the transplant ward. That's your job today. I kind of going, okay, I can do this. And I got out of bed, and that was, I think that was the first time I'd walked since my operation. I was dizzy, and I was carrying all these IV stands with me. And I remember thinking at that point, am I ever going to run again?
Right.
And it's hard. Like,
spoken like a true runner.
I said that's the first thing that went through my brain. And I hadn't thought about doing ultras again. Like, I didn't know what an ultra was.
Right.
First of all, like I'd only done like road races. So to me, okay, am I going to try run a marathon again? That was my goal.
Right.
Is see if I can gain the strength and rebound from this. And at the time in 2009, 2010, I didn't know what life would be like after a liver transplant. I remember going on the internet and Googling it and go like, how long am I going to live? Am I going to be able to function normally? Like, what's life going to be like? Because I had no idea.
Right.
So I guess that's part of why I was sort of interested in coming on and say, hey, this is what's possible after you have a liver transplant. You can go on and live a normal life.
Right.
What is the success rate after a liver transplant?
I don't know exactly.
Okay.
I don't know what the success rate is. I guess I'm not the proper person to speak about that. I know from my own experience, I think I was in excellent shape excellent shape prior to getting sick. But I don't know what the success rate is after having a transplant. I think it's quite good, I would think.
Yeah.
I think after you get an organ transplant, I think you can go back to living a relatively normal life. I think that's the transplant unit's goal.
Right.
Is to get back to you and live a normal life. And I guess running was my normal. That was how I dealt with stress and anxiety. And I think after my transplant, we were in a pretty dire situation with our business. We were being evicted from our property. We had to build a new facility. I had to go back in and get back to work. So my entire focus in the first year after my transplant was to get their business running again, so we
Right.
can build up the capital to purchase a building and land and do all. It all worked out, but it was very stressful times. I think after you get a liver transplant, my wife was, I think she was done. I think she was completely fed up with me. She'd been looking after me for about over a year. She'd been running the business, raising my kids. And she says, Mark, I need your help. You have to go back to work. We need to build this building and do all this. So, and I just said, okay, I've got to go and do that. And that's what I did. I just kind of buried my head and went back to work. And I went back to my appointment book yesterday. I was at work yesterday and I went back in July of 2011. I went back to work.
Okay.
I started seeing appointments again, and it was really therapeutic.
I'm sure.
It helped me that, okay, it got my mind off thinking about myself. I'm a veterinarian, so I get to do what I love to do. I get to look after people and their pets.
Yeah.
Mhm. So tell us about your journey back to running and how did you get into ultras?
Yeah. After my surgery, I think it took me a couple of years before I started building up the endurance to go back into like 5K and 10K. And to be honest, I was no longer in denial. So I didn't really I wasn't entering a lot of marathons or half marathons. I always went back to Sarnia to try and run my first race of the Huron House Boys Home Run. I always tried to get back then. I ran that every year. So COVID came along, 2020. My wife and I were able to purchase a cottage up in Haliburton.
Nice.
So I believe in karma. So I didn't know much about Haliburton, and we purchased a cottage right across the street from the Haliburton Forest.
Wow.
So COVID, I was running a lot, so I started doing some trail running. And I think I was out one day in, I think 2021 or maybe 22, and I literally ran into Mel Turbin,
Okay.
who was one of the organizers of the Haliburton Forest Trail Race. And he was driving. I was running along one of the roads, and he goes, Mark, are you running in the race this fall? And I kind of going, there's a race? I had no idea. I don't know about trail racing. So he goes, yeah, there's the Haliburton Forest Trail Race. So I think I tried to enter that year, but it was already full. And then I think I entered the following year in 2023.
Okay.
Was my first official trail race. I did the 26K there.
Nice.
And then, which was probably the hardest thing I've done in some time. And I came back, oh my God, I love this. This is so much fun. And I'm doing trail running. I didn't know anything about trail running. And then I volunteered one of the aid stations overnight.
Nice.
I figured I'd kind of learn more about trail racing. And then I ran the race in the morning. I went home, slept for a bit. And then I went out and spent the overnight working at one of the aid stations. And then I kind of realized people are running like 50-mile and 100-mile races. And I'm kind of going, this is absolutely insane. Like, how do people do this? And I think I got the idea in my mind at that point. I've got to try this.
Yes.
This is totally up my alley. Like, it's and people are literally like running all night and for 24 to 30 hours. And I'm kind of going, I think I got to that point. Okay, I'm going to try this. I think being a little bit older, I was a little more logical. I'm not just going to go from 26K to 100 miles.
Oh, come on.
Have you checked out our virtual series yet? We Run the North, celebrating Canada's national parks, features a total of 13 10-kilometer challenges, one for each province and territory. How many national parks can you name? Well, there's Algonquin, and then there's Banff, and then that's it? Anyways, medals that connect, license plate style bibs, and cool swag can be yours. Visit GottaRunRacing.com for more details.
I decided, okay, I've got to have a plan. So I set up the following summer I hired a running coach.
Oh.
That was pretty important. I looked up the winner of the Haliburton Forest 2023 race. I think his name was Wade Spears.
Oh,
You're
no,
kidding.
Wade.
Yeah, so I looked him up on Strava, and I was looking at his race, and he had hired his wife, I guess Victoria,
Yeah.
had a company called Hustle and Flow training programs, I think it's called. But so I emailed them and I said, hey, I want to run this race. I think I signed up for the 50-miler that fall.
Okay.
And I said, I need some help. to train for this race. So that was my first getting into serious. Like I actually had to hire a running coach.
Right.
So, and that was Jay. I'm working with Jay Thompson. He's been amazing. He's helped me sort of guide me through getting training for ultras. I ran my first ultra in Limberlost, actually. It was July of 24. I think I did my first race there. And it was hard. Like I didn't know what I was getting into. I think I went into it with the wrong attitude.
Oh,
because I'd been hiking in Limberlost before, and the trails I was hiking on were like pine covered, nice and wide, flat. I'm kind of going, this is gonna be a piece of cake. 56K of this, and I remember getting there and running my I think the first 5K of that course. It was all muddy, uphill, technical. And I think I had my first, oh my God, moment of trail running. I'm kind of going,
what have I
I've
done?
got to do that 3 more times.
Yep.
How is this possible? And I didn't know enough about nutrition. I think I survived that race on chocolate chip cookies and apples.
Oh boy.
That was my nutrition program.
Okay.
So I think I finished the race by sheer determination. It was hot, humid, raining all day. The course got muddier and more technical as the day went on. And I think I surprised myself by just getting around it, like that course, like 14 Ks 4 times. But I think I did it though. So, good. But I realized during that race, I need more help. So I think it was that summer, it was 24. I was reading about another lady. She was doing Jillian Best. She was running. She's a swimmer, and she had also received a liver transplant, and she was doing a 30K swim in Lake Muskoka.
Wow.
And she co-founded something called the Move for Life Foundation.
Okay.
They basically, it's a national organization where they promote organ donation awareness with the goal of reducing organ transplantation waiting times in Canada.
Fantastic.
So I said, awesome. She's just like me. She does ultra marathoning. I thought this was completely normal. So, and I was reading more about how she prepared for her race in one of her blogs. And she mentioned a nutritionist at the transplant unit, Lynn Sinclair.
Okay.
So I said, okay, I could use her help.
Sure.
So I reached out to Lynn at the transplant unit, and I told her what I was doing. I'm not sure if she believed me or not that I was actually training for ultramarathons, being a liver transplant recipient. But I said, no, okay, this is what I've done, and this is what I'm planning to do. Can you help me? And sure enough, she was like, yeah, we can help you. We're all on. So she basically helped me with my nutrition planning that summer, and that helped me get through the Haliburton 50-mile race. So, so I ran the 50-mile that fall, and I think the fall of 24, it was wet. It was windy, and that was a hard race. I think my wife said she was crewing for me for that race. She said she saw snow during that race.
Yeah, I can believe it.
I was having time in my life. I ran the course, the 40K loop twice, and sure, it might have been cold and windy, but I was having a great time. So I think I finished the race in like 14 and a half hours.
Nice.
And I said, okay, I just ran 50 miles. So what's the next logical step to do?
Here we go.
So I think I said to myself, okay, let's go for 100. Why not?
Well, we did meet you at Sulphur Springs this spring. So please tell us about Sulphur Spring, your race there, and how it felt crossing the finish line at your 100K.
Amazing. I didn't know much about Sulphur Springs, Hamilton. A friend of mine said it'd be a great race for me. It's a runner's course. And I think it has the same elevation as Haliburton, but I'm the type of runner, I really enjoy hills.
Okay.
So I actually, the Three Sisters part of the course in Sulphur Springs, I loved it. I like the first time I was going up, I was smiling. I was like, this is great. I got to the top and I'm going, is this it? And I think there were people waiting at the top. They're going, okay, you're nuts. So mind you, I had to run it 5 times. I don't think I was smiling the 5th time I went up.
Sure.
But I really enjoyed the hills. I did the 100K there. I think I finished it in 15 hours. 15 minutes. It was like 9:30 at night. So I guess when I'm running my races, I never allow myself to think about how sick I was.
Right.
It's almost a rule for me. But the only thing I think about is getting my butt to the next aid station. And my wife met me at the start finish after every loop. So my getting back to Jen, getting more fluids, more nutrition, getting back on the course. I only allow myself to go back and think about how sick I was in the last kilometer of the race. And at Sulphur, it's uphill. So you gotta hit that. You gotta basically run up that hill. So and that's the only time I ever allowed myself to think, okay, I was 14 years ago, I was on a walker trying to get around the transplant unit.
Right.
And here I am trying to finish 100K.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
so that it brings almost tears to my eyes at every finish line. So
I'm sure you can't help but think while you're running, nothing compares to what I dealt with the liver.
Yeah, how bad the
So
race is, it doesn't matter.
You can't
Yeah.
you can't be broken on a race course like that. You've been through hell. So
yeah. But I look around. I don't consider myself different from any of the other athletes that are out there because I love your every runner has a story. Like, oh my
Right.
God, that resonates so well with me. And every other runner I meet on that course, they all have their stories
Of
and their
course.
challenges too.
Of
Yeah.
course.
So I just think I just remember when I listened to your podcast with Tammy Bollock, I think she would love to know that, hey, I'm an organ transplant recipient and you finished 15 minutes ahead of me, but hey, we were on the same course together. So
Well, we'll make
So,
sure
yeah.
she has a link to
Yeah,
it.
I'm sure you
Yeah.
guys ran together
Yeah, you
without
never
knowing
know.
it.
we probably did.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I felt I had unfinished business Sulphur Springs. So I was thinking to myself at the end of that race, like if I just go out there and run 3 more loops, I'll do my 100 miles. So I decided to go back this year and do the 100 miles.
Nice.
Wow.
So it was a fun race. The organizers and the volunteers were amazing. I'm just going to go out and I'm going to run 100 miles or as many laps as I can do.
There we go.
So that's on my agenda for next year to see if I can give it a go.
Now, at what point had you decided you wanted to take on the 100 at Halley?
Knowing
So,
that it's not easy course. You've done the 50.
no. And from the look on your face after Sulphur, I kind of get out. I didn't realize when I set out to run the 100 at Halley how hard it actually was. Because I live up there, I train on that loop almost every weekend.
Right.
And that 40-kilometer loop at Halley has defeated me so many times over the years. Like my friends that run with me can tell me, like I've been knocked down so many times. I've fallen. I've literally run into a tree before and been knocked over. I've rolled down hills.
Oh no.
This past summer and during one of the training runs, the 40K loop, it was in August and it was a hot day. I didn't get enough fluids into me that day and I actually collapsed from heat exhaustion after one of the runs.
Ouch.
So and that's just doing it once.
Right.
So to run it 4 times, it was almost a personal challenge that, hey, I'm not going to let this beat me. I treated my training like a full-time job. I retired kind of from practice in 2022, 2023-ish. So I woke up every day and my job was to train. So I had very good support I worked with a chiropractor, a massage therapist, a physiotherapist, a personal trainer, a fascial stretch a person.
Nice.
So I put all my resources into basically running this race. And I was fortunate to be able to work with Lynn Sinclair, the nutritionist from the London Health Sciences Center. But I'm also a type 1 diabetic.
Right.
So I was able to work with Susan Kettle from the Charles H. Best Center in Whitby. So I was trying to put it all together, and they were able to, of course, they put together a plan for me to run this 160 kilometers. So, and somehow on race day, it all came together. I had great support. My wife and kids were all over this.
Nice.
Like my wife was very helpful to have my kids involved because my wife kind of did the daytime crewing, the aid stations, and my kids did the overnight.
Nice.
So I think I sent some pictures to you guys during the race, and yeah, it was amazing. I've never been so happy to be running, even though my body's in agony and I'm just trying to get my butt to the next aid station. I look at the pictures and see the smile on my face. I'm kind of going, it was one of the greatest days I've ever had. And so I just, And the weather was perfect. I like the weather that year. I got lucky. The weather was better than 2024. I believe 34 out of the 77 entrants actually finished the race this year. I think I was number 31 or 32 as far as finishing times. So I think in 2023, only 17 finished.
Wow.
So I think it was all weather related.
Yeah.
So I was quite happy. And then I had some great friends that were pacing me through the race.
Okay.
So my friend Jennifer, Jiffy, we call her, she paced me for the third lap through the night. And then my friend Steven paced me for the final lap.
Fantastic.
I guess there's so many funny stories, but everyone knows that the Prime Minister,
Yep.
Mark Carney, ran the 26K loop that day. So I tend to get fairly focused during the races. So I'm just basically thinking about, but I came around the start-finish line after my first loop, and I ran right past the Prime Minister.
Really?
I did not even see him. And my friends that were running, one of my ladies, Karen, I was on a running group with three other runners, Karen and Troy, and Karen actually recognized him and stopped to get a selfie with him.
Wow.
But I remember going around the start-finish line going, what happened to Karen? And
There she is.
but she eventually caught back up when she goes, I just met the Prime Minister.
Wow.
That was a wild
So yeah, that was pretty
experience.
funny. Yeah. So
Tell us about the last kilometer, because you say the last kilometer is when you think about all that you went through. So tell us that
Yeah.
you're finally getting this. You're gonna do this. Your first 100-miler.
And what time of day is it?
Yeah.
I finished in 32 hours.
Okay.
So it was I'm thinking about 2:00 in the afternoon. I started
Okay.
at 6:00 on Saturday morning, and I finished at about 2:00 on Sunday afternoon.
Okay.
And to be honest, I felt like, first of all, I was on fumes. I was my pacer, Steven, he was so focused and kept me focused on getting me through the last 40 kilometers. And I got out of the last 2 kilometers, Haliburton is road. And I knew once I got out of Poachers and I hit the road, I'm going, oh my God, I'm going to finish. I just have to run up this hill and down this road and I'm in the finish line. And I was doing my best just to stay on my feet. I was dizzy, beyond exhaustion, but I think that last bit of adrenaline kicked in. And yeah, it was, I guess surreal is a little bit, I try not to overuse that term, but it was surreal.
Sure.
To go in, see my family at the finish line, and
Emotional. Yeah.
all my friends that were there, and it was just, I can't believe. I look at the pictures from the race. I look like just a complete frothing person just coming across the finish line, going, I've done this. I've been training. I've been thinking about this for 3 years, and it's just to run that last couple kilometers. It was just like a dream come true. That's the only way I can say it. It was. I've been thinking about this. I've been training my butt off to run it, and just to be able to do it.
Big
So
congrats.
if I can go out there and do this, I just like to think that, okay, there must be other people out there that, hey, I've had a heart transplant, a kidney transplant, a liver transplant. I can go out and do this as well. So
What would you like to say to those people, Mark? What would you like to say to those people?
yeah, honestly, I tried to think about other things. I was trying to think of, okay, just getting across the finish line and just doing the best job I could. And I did, to be honest with you, I did not expect to finish. I think I knew the odds going in that more than half the runners starting this race don't finish.
Yeah.
And I was a little surprised to actually get there. I think I was a bit shocked. I was in a bit of shock, actually, because I didn't think I'd be able to go around that loop 4 times. So I guess during the race, you always have your low points during the race. And mine came, it was during the 4th loop. I think I was about 140K in. And my wife met me at the aid station with 20K to go. And I found out at the aid station, I was in there trying to get my fluids and my nutrition in. And she said to me, my 2 friends that I've been running with for the last 100K had dropped out. And I felt, oh my God, I know how hard they trained. And then for them not to be able to finish, I think that was my low point of the race. And then Stephen, my optimistic pacer, comes up and tells me, okay, Mark, we've got 20K to go and 6 hours to do it. You're going to finish. So it's just like, okay. And then it kind of dawned on me, okay, I've been thinking about this for so long. I've got a chance to do this. So I got my second win, and I said, okay, let's get this done. So yeah.
Nice.
Wow.
Yeah. So
Well, big congrats. So
Very much so.
what is next for you? Well, you signing up for Sulphur again, but did you put your name into Western States Lottery? And what if you get called?
I thought about it. I did give it some thought this summer, but I had to be honest with this. I'm not ready for it. I'm relatively new to ultra running. I watched some clips of the run this past summer, and oh my God, like that's just next level. Like that's next level. I don't run very well in the heat. So, and it was a hot year this year, and I'm not sure I'm ready for that yet. So I think what I'm going to do, my plan now is to get another 100-mile race, like Sulphur Springs, for example, under my belt. Maybe do 100K in Quebec in the fall. I want to help my friends out next fall, complete the Hali 100 because I know they want to come back and do it. So maybe I'll run as a pacer for them, and definitely volunteer at the aid stations. So yeah, so I think my goal right now is just to get more, experience under my belt. And then I'll sign up for the 100-mile, maybe at Western States. I think, I don't know the system, but I understand it's a lottery system. So I do have one ticket. So hopefully I'll get a second ticket this year at Sulphur. So, and then we'll see what happens after that. My wife won't be very happy with me because guess what? We're going to
give you some advice, you have to put your tickets in no matter what, because it's going to take 6 or 7 years.
Okay.
So if you don't leave any tickets on the table.
Okay. Okay. I didn't know that.
You just put it in. The chance of you getting in is extremely slim.
Yeah.
But at least you put it in to prepare yourself for the years coming.
Okay.
That's right.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. Okay. You're going to be, I should have put that ticket in.
Yeah. Now, what advice would you give to people that don't necessarily, maybe they've signed their donor card, but they haven't really given their family the heads up?
I actually went and looked at my friends at the Move for Life Foundation. They kind of gave me statistics that, like, currently there's 470 Canadians awaiting a liver transplant in Canada. There's 127 awaiting a heart transplant, 240 awaiting a lung transplant, 6 people waiting a multivisceral transplant, 620 on the national kidney wait list, and many more waiting on the provincial lists. So I guess my advice to people is not only that, like, go out and sign your donor registry card. I think that's very important, but have that discussion with your family and your friends, because they're the ones that need to know your intentions. No one expects to die. Like, you don't know when anything bad's going to happen to you, but I think it's important to let your family know that I want to donate my organs.
Right.
I think most people agree with organ donation. I just don't think that they communicate that with their family and their friends. So I think if I can get out one message, that would be it. Yes. So,
Good advice. Good advice.
Now, you said you had kids. Do you have any grandkids?
No, I'm only 56.
Hey, you don't ever know.
My daughter's 25 and at college right now, and my son's at university. So I've got no grandkids yet.
Okay.
But I'm hoping to convince one or both of them to pace for me at Sulphur Springs. I'm sure they can help me get around a 20K loop. My son's, I'm not sure if I inspired him, but he suddenly developed an interest in running this year. So I'm kind of hoping that he goes out and maybe he'll be with me in May running Sulphur Springs, at least 20K. So we'll see.
Well, the reason why I say that is because it's great that you came on and you told us your story, because one day the grandkids of your grandkids are going to hear you speak and hear your story, and you're going to hopefully inspire them and anybody else who listens. So thank you so much for coming on.
Well, thank you for having me. I was quite nervous coming on. I'm outside my comfort zone. I guess I definitely call me humble. I just don't like to not brag, but just, okay, this is what I can do. This is what I'm able to do. And I'm very fortunate to be, I feel extremely blessed to be able to have my health, thankful to an anonymous liver donor, which I don't know much about the family or the person that donated their liver to me, but I like to think I'm making the most of this donation and trying to stay healthy and stay active. So I guess my plan is, as long as my body's able to do this, I'm going to continue to try do ultras. So yeah.
Awesome.
Nice. Very good.
Very inspirational. Mark.
And I love your podcasts. I listen to them every week, and I learn something every time. It's just not necessarily. Actually, I learned about Sulphur Springs from your podcast because you had the organizers on last year. I heard about the race. Okay, this sounds cool. So, and plus my friends were telling me about it. So that allowed me to at least go out and sign up. So yeah,
Awesome.
yeah.
Well, before we let you go, we're going to do some rapid fire, which is always something fun.
And if you listen to the podcast, you know what's coming.
Yeah, exactly.
I do, yes.
And because we're a similar age, I can ask our questions.
Okay.
70s, 80s, or 90s music?
Oh my goodness, I'm a 70s child. Yes.
Oh.
Yeah. I have Sirius XM. It's on my go-to radio station in the car is Sirius XM. I listen to Casey Kasem's Top 40 every Sunday.
Nice.
Mind you, I love 80s music for running as well, because I think the synthesizers and like running through the woods with that 80s music is sometimes cool too. So I sometimes throw that on as well. So
are you going to see Rush?
No, I'm not a big Rush guy. No. I know Geddy Lee, and he's a baseball fanatic like me, but no, I don't have tickets for Rush. No.
Okay.
No.
All right. Star Wars or Star Trek?
Star Wars, yeah. I remember walking to the movie theater when I was like 8 years old to see the first Star Wars. So.
Oh my God, you and I could be best friends. We got a lot in common here.
Yeah. So definitely Star Wars, yeah.
Okay. Would you rather run on the treadmill or outside at -20?
Oh, I'm -20 outside for sure. Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. I'm actually, my wife and I are going to go run. My wife runs as well. She just did the Niagara Half this past weekend.
Nice.
In Niagara Falls. So we're heading to Greenland next October for, I think it's called the Polar Marathon or Polar Challenge. So they run a marathon on one day, and then they run a half marathon on the following day. So you can guess I'm going to be doing the challenge. The marathon is. I think there's something wrong with me, but I'm going to sign up for the challenge, I think. And my wife's going to do the half marathon. We've never been to Greenlands. I'm not sure if I'll see -20 out there, but I like running in the winter. I like getting outside. So definitely -20 versus a treadmill. Yeah.
Okay. Pineapples on pizza, yes or no?
Yes. I'm a pineapple pizza person for sure. Yeah. Yeah. Hawaiians. Yeah.
Okay. Would you rather be a professional writer, painter, or musician?
Musician, yeah. I guess I've always, like, I have a piano sitting in my living room that my wife's a good can play the piano, but I always say I'm going to go get my start music lessons and learn to play the piano. So I think I'm retired now. I'll have more time to do that. So
I just started.
Yeah, Norm.
Yeah, so it gets a different part of your brain working. So
yeah. I have a love-hate relationship right now with my piano.
Yeah. So yeah.
Butter tarts, with or without?
Yeah, I'm without all the way.
Oh my God.
You are going to be best friends.
I'm giving you thumbs up on everything. This is amazing.
I was looking for a butter chart when I finished the 100K, but you gave me a water bottle instead.
Oh, no.
Okay.
All right. And final question?
Pick a superpower that you'd like to have.
I've been thinking about this one a while, and I'm not sure if it's a superpower, but I've been dealing with plantar fasciitis, pretty bad case of it since my race in September. So pain immunity, if that's a superpower.
Oh.
I'm getting better every day, and I've been doing whatever my chiropractor and physio have been telling me to do, but it's been a painful recovery from my 100-miler. I would say if I could be not immune to pain, but less sensitive to pain. So is that a superpower? So yeah.
Absolutely.
I've only gone out running a couple times since my race, but I'm just getting over a cold right now, so I'm hoping to get back running next week. So we'll see.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, thanks again, Mark. This has been great.
Yeah. Well, thank you for having me. Yeah.
And hopefully we'll see you in May at Sulphur Springs.
I'm looking forward to it. I'm going to train through this winter and give my best shot in May. I think that's the nice thing about that race is you go out there and you just do as many loops as you can.
That's right.
So there's no cutoff. Well, I'm not sure what the cutoff time is. I haven't looked it up, but I'll just go out there and see how many loops I can do.
I think it's 32 hours for 100 miles.
32 hours. So yeah, I think I can finish it in the 24-hour-ish. I did the 100K in 15 hours and change. I think I can do it in under 24 hours. So we'll see. Yeah.
Great. All right.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you
so much.
Take care.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.
And that was Mark Coleman, fresh off his first 100-miler at Haliburton. What a story!
I know.
Wow.
And he came to us at Sulphur Spring to say, hey, I hear your tagline, every runner has a story. Well, I have a story for you.
Absolutely. Unbelievable. And here I am feeling lazy and tired about getting out there. I have no excuse whatsoever.
No, you don't. So get going. And then after that, do the dishes.
There you have it, folks. This is how Norm talks to me off camera. He's finally revealed himself.
Oh, boy.
Anyways, just Mark's story's unbelievable, so inspirational, and determination out the wazoo.
Yes, unbelievable, which you're right. We got to get our ass in gear because
no excuse.
We have no excuse.
No excuse.
And then, I hope to see him again next May at Sulphur Spring.
Absolutely.
Perhaps we can run a loop with him or two.
On that note, we still have some We Run the North. We're actually selling out of provinces at this point.
Yeah, we Run the North virtual 10K series has been doing pretty well this year.
And make sure you get your registration in soon because I am predicting a sellout soon.
Wow, very good.
All right.
And if you like this episode, please leave a rating review. We really appreciate it.
It means a lot. Just takes a second. Go do it now.
Until next time.
Cheers.